Good Tuesday morning. I know I'm a little later each and every day. This has to do with the rolling blackout. I'm in Leviticus chapter 1. The Lord called to Moses from the tabernacle, and he said to him, "Give the following instructions to the people of Israel. When you present an animal as an offering to the Lord, you may take it from your herd of cattle or your flock of sheep and goats." Christians have made jokes about the book of Leviticus for as long as I can remember. What we read here does not look like any of the Christianity we practice, but we are reading the Bible cover to cover, and I promise you, God has ways of making even this what might seem like an archaic book in our postmodern eyes come alive with inspiration. The sacrificial system of Israel, as described to us here in the book of Leviticus, it's alien to our modern Western picture of religion. We read in it very little about future, not much about repentance, very little of faith and prayer, but we find commanded an elaborate system of sacrifices based upon practices that we can trace clear back to Adam and Eve. Genesis chapter 4 is the record of Cain and Abel and the sacrifices they brought to God. The covenant with Noah was also sacrificial. Genesis chapter 8 tells us about Noah building an altar to the Lord. And when Abraham first entered Canaan, he built an altar to the Lord as the way to communicate with God. Multiple times we have record of Abraham making sacrifice, including the ram that he found in the thicket that he used in place of his son Isaac. At Beersheba, Isaac built an altar, and he called upon the name of the Lord. At Salem and at Bethel, Jacob erected altars and offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. It's possible that while in Egypt, the practice of sacrifice was discontinued through the fear of giving offense to the religious ideology of the Egyptians, but the idea of sacrifice being the appointed means of serving God, it was preserved, very obviously preserved, because that was one of the main parts of Moses' argument for leaving Egypt, that they could sacrifice to the Lord their God. Moses, Aaron, and the elders of Israel, they took part in a sacrificial meal with Jethro in the wilderness, and the covenant made at Sinai was ratified by burnt offerings and peace offerings. So let's look at the sacrificial system with a little more detail. There are several different kinds of sacrifices under the Mosaic covenant: the burnt offering, the peace offering, the sin offering, as well as meat offerings, trespass offerings, and wave offerings. In general, they served as a means of reconciliation between God and man, and as a means for man to have access to God. Specifically, each sacrifice taught their own lesson and brought about symbolically and ceremonially each their own effect. The sin offering taught of appeasing the anger of God and making amends for sin. The burnt offering taught the lessons of self-surrender, and the peace offering taught the lessons of the necessity of communion between God and man. What's with all the blood and guts and all these details of process? What makes killing animals effective in bringing people closer to God? Their effectiveness was derived from representing and foreshadowing the sacrifice of Jesus Christ on the cross. The sin offering typifying the atonement and amends that Jesus made for us once and for all on the cross. The burnt offering, the perfect self-surrender of the sinless sufferer. And the peace offering, the reconciliation that continues today between God and his people. Psalm 50 verse 5 states that sacrifice is a vital part of the covenant with God. "Bring my faithful people to me, those who made a covenant with me by giving sacrifices." In fact, sacrifice ratifies our Christian covenant with God yet today. Hebrews 9:15 says, "That is why he is the one who mediates a new covenant between God and people, so that all who are called can receive the eternal inheritance God has promised them. For Christ died to set them free from the penalty of the sins they had committed under the first covenant." Thank God that his sacrificial system never fails. The same cannot be said for our electrical grid. Stay warm, my Texas friends. And if you know somebody local who does not have adequate heat, let me know. We have several options for temporary hot showers and warm beds here in Giddings, Texas. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow.